Yo, welcome back to the Audio Theory Podcast featuring your hosts, Superfly and Danny Daybar is open. What's good?
What's up, my dude? No alcohol for me this time. I had to make a decision between Chipotle for lunch or booze at night. I went with Chipotle for lunch. So
Nice.
I was like, let me not cheat twice today. So
Yeah.
Just seltzer water tonight. How about you?
I'm actually drinking, but I mean, normally I'll have one drink on Wednesdays anyways, but it's been a rough work week.
Has it really?
Yeah, it's been annoying as hell.
Because
I
you're
won't get
finally
insulted.
busy again, or because it's just an awkward transition phase?
Just awkward bullshit that would have happened at any time. A couple people I work with who aren't doing the proper things had an awkward call with somebody today. Basically them implying that me and my associate aren't pulling our weight when in fact it's the opposite situation, and we have valid reasons for being absent because we're being pulled elsewhere. So just dealing with that shit, even though no one's in danger of getting fired or whatever thing. My boss has my back. It's just annoying having to deal with that in the midst of trying to actually get work done.
Yeah.
So I'm fuck it, I'm taking a shot, busting out a Truly. We're gonna get into
We're going with a 40-ounce Truly today.
I know this is just the regular one. That one was a last-minute store run to the liquor store. These things are expensive as fuck, by the way. I think I got I don't think so. I think they've always been expensive, but I'm pretty sure a 12-pack is fucking $25 or some shit.
Damn.
Yeah, I mean they're good. They're not that good, but it also helps. I'm not trying to get a beer belly either, so
yeah, it's kind of it's already low in calories, right?
Yeah, it's 100 or something.
Minimal sugar, minimal carbs.
Yeah, minimal sugar, minimal carbs. So it's not nearly as bad as having a Guinness or something.
Yeah, fair enough. Dude, work's been pretty decent for me. I mean, nothing crazy. We had a town hall meeting last week, so again, probably not going into the office until 2021. And even dude, my vice president told me cause I have a one-on-one with him every month, and he even told me man, because I was just joking around yeah, you're probably not gonna see me in the first phase in October. I'm not lying to you. You'll probably see me in January. He's bro, I don't even think all of us will be back in the office by January. So
yep.
And the reason why, dude, so obviously we're calling this episode 34, Rona Poppin. Bro, the numbers here in Florida are fucking astronomical, bro. And I don't know if you've seen this in the news 2 weeks ago. The head of the Florida Health Department, she got fired because she was saying that people were deflating the numbers to keep obviously people coming to Florida. And I actually have a coworker who his sister's a nurse here. I mentioned this before offline, that she would see 100 cases, 150 cases a day, and then her boss would be well, just report 25. And she's like, what? Yeah, just report 25. It's okay. So, dude, I've been aware of this. But ever since this lady got fired, she's come out with her own dashboard. And ever since then, it's been calling out the Florida government. And, bro, now the Florida government's, being forced to show the real numbers. Bro, it's 4,000. I think today was 5,000 cases. And I'm pretty sure that California just had, their record day yesterday, bro. So both of our fucking states from doing amazing with this is the new epicenter, which is fucking insane.
Yeah, especially because I wonder now if it's gonna overshadow all the Black Lives Matter stuff. But on that note, did your company in the town hall or in general, have there been a lot of questions from people about are we gonna fund this? Are we gonna boycott this as a company? Do you have a diversity organization within your organization? Has any of that infiltrated your job?
Yeah, so 2 town halls ago we had a conversation. So I mean, personally, I didn't think it was the best thing to do, but I understand why they did it. So it was the CEO and 3 African American employees, and it was kind of all right, you tell me the worst that's ever happened to you. All right, you tell me the worst thing that's ever happened to you. And I was just I mean, I get it, but I'm how is this helping?
Yeah.
But maybe it is, but maybe because we're in that position, we know these stories happen every day, and maybe our Caucasian counterparts have no idea. So maybe it was helpful. And apparently we have like a cookout network team that's like essentially like a bunch of minorities getting together, like having cookouts together and stuff like that. But as far as exactly where the money's going, I haven't seen anything yet. Maybe it's just not public yet. It's been more so about like, let's do more things to talk about this as a company, as opposed to like, hey, are you donating money to like this Black Lives Matter fund and stuff? So that's, how about you guys?
Yeah, we've been talking about it a lot. I actually kind of got dragged into one of those situations because I was actually on the way to San Francisco to visit my boy a few weeks back.
Right.
And this black girl wanted to host like a difficult discussions meeting to like just chat about everything going on. This was like when it was super hot in like in the media and everything. So I took that time to like talk about some of the microaggressions and stuff that happened at work. She wanted this black girl wanted me to kind of join her because she was the only black person in that meeting of like 25 people or something. So it was kind of weird and cool at the same time. Like it was therapeutic in the sense that I could get that stuff off my chest of like, hey, listen up, people. Like you can still like have racist or biased tendencies without being a flat out racist who fucking burns crosses and, you know, forces people to drink from different water fountains and shit. So I think that was cool, but at the same time, to your point, like as time went on, I'm kind of like, one, I'm exhausted just with everything, and then two, I'm like, so what do we like do to really solve all this? Do we solve it internally? Do we fucking boycott? Because we spend money with companies like Facebook and stuff. I think a lot of people are trying to boycott Facebook and fucking Fox News and all sorts of shit.
Sure.
And working in advertising, you know, all these moves have repercussions. So it's like, where do you go? Like, it's almost like cancel culture stuff. Like, is canceling the right move? Do you have conversations with these people? Do you like, you know, run a campaign on these networks to help educate people who watch this sort of shit? Like, I guess that's the super confusing thing, and I obviously don't have the right answer, but it has been exhausting trying to like cope with all this stuff because I'm just not used to it, and I'm fucking busy doing my daily job. Like,
you have a normal job.
Yeah. And it's like, yeah, it's weird because all the shit I do, half the time I'm like, this doesn't mean anything, and that's the stuff that stresses me out the most. So yeah, it's a wild situation all around.
Did you feel though in that conversation that you were always in a safe place, or were you kind of cognizant like, hey, let me not say exactly how I feel because I don't know what the repercussions may be like 6 months down the road when shit's back to normal, you know?
I mean, I was pretty raw with it. Not as raw as like you and I have been on the podcast for sure, but I know my boss has my backs and she's like fully on board with it, maybe even more than me. So I wasn't afraid about that. But at the same time, I was like, okay, so now where do I take the conversation? Like, do I talk about using the N-word like in Drake songs? Like, is that even relevant to police brutality? So I think that's where the conversation got confusing. Is it started off with George Floyd dying, and then now it became like, oh, let's talk about racism in general and like microaggressions and shit like that. So I think it's like I think people are just like fed up.
Trans life matters, and
yeah,
Me Too movement might be back. It's like, whoa, what are we doing? Like, what are we doing?
Yeah. So people are just like fed up in general, and there's so many conversations going on that it's like exhausting trying to figure all this shit out at once.
And yet you would think this be the time where cops would be the most delicate when it came to shit. And yet there's a new person being killed every other day.
Yep.
Dude, so how do you feel? I want to get back to Corona in a second, but how do you feel about, like, I guess your point of view is the most important on this one. The people trying to change the conversation about, like, excuse me, and I get both sides. I get why we need to have that conversation, but I don't know if this is the right time. When we're saying Black Lives Matter, cops killing black unarmed people is not okay. But then the other side who's like, well, that's only like 15% of all Black American deaths, and the rest is Black on Black crimes in, you know, locations like Chicago or Ferguson. You know, how do you feel when people start like bringing that into the fold? Do you think that has a place? Should that be a separate conversation? Or is that just the reason why there's so much Black on Black crime, because the systemic system from hundreds of years ago put these people in such a hole that they feel like doing crime may be the only way to get out? Like how do you feel when that side of it gets brought up?
So I actually was debating a friend with this the other day. He's always been kind of like the devil's advocate in this whole situation. Like, why are people looting? Black on Black crime, blah, blah, blah. And my point to him was, one, the police are paid to protect and serve. And I think that's where the outrage lies, is these guys will, you know, unsurprisingly, as human beings, make dumbass mistakes, but so does every human being. And if you get in a fight with the dude at a bar and you fucking choke his ass out and kill him, guess what? You're going to jail, even if he provoked you or whatever. So I think when it comes to the police, we've just seen time and time again, they're like shielded from any form of punishment. Like at best, you know, they get suspended or fired or whatever, and that's end of story. And it's just unacceptable. Black on Black crime is a huge issue, and if I knew how to change it, I would, because I think that's super detrimental to the Black community. But at the same time, it's like people can't protest criminals, because criminals do shit. That's like the fundamentals of being a criminal. You do shit like your own way, and you know, protesting isn't gonna make some dude, you know, think to themselves, oh, you know what, I'm gonna stop selling drugs or fucking gangbang or whatever, my only means of supporting my family or whatever it is. I think a lot of it does stem from like poverty and, you know, broken households and all sorts of other shit that like stem from previous racial, you know, segregation and all that stuff. And it's just too complex to be like, oh, Black people just, you know, make better choices and get your shit together. Like, I think you have to change something like fundamentally to fix all of that. And I'm myself not like super educated on. I know people have talked about like how welfare is actually detrimental because it like incentivizes, you know, having separate households or not working and stuff like that. So I think there's so much that we need to change to make those things better. But I don't think it's as simple as like people who are from the suburbs think like, oh, just why kill people? Like, why sell drugs? Why join a gang? And it's like, if you're not a lost individual, like this guy even brought up the example of like, you know, your mom's on drugs and your dad's in prison and all your friends are dead, but like, why don't you just get your head in the books and go to college? And it's like,
why don't you figure it out?
Yeah. Like, have you been in that situation? Like, think of all the like little shit we get depressed about, like being stuck at home. But like this motherfucker has like every childhood friend die, like no parents whatsoever, and joins a gang, and all of a sudden like you think it's a simple decision to be like, well, I'm just gonna go home and study fucking algebra and become a doctor. Like, these guys are looking for some form of belonging and income, and they're just influenced by it, and they don't have a choice. A lot of these motherfuckers join gangs too just to avoid dying, or carry guns to avoid dying. So I think people need to be a little more sympathetic, I guess.
Yeah, and then my point of view, like, at least I'm not saying like I'm not completely educated on this. Again, I mentioned a couple podcasts ago, like I didn't really study on that much of like American history, which I really think this topic, as far as like systematic oppression, was never really in the history books anyway, right? They don't fucking talk about that. But when people bring up like, well, Black on Black crime, like obviously it's a terrible thing. But I do think even that stems from like systematic fucking issues where like back in like the early 30s, bro, like when people like they set up the different like project areas and like left Black people there to fucking like are fucked. You know what I mean? You're not allowed to get a loan. You can't buy a house, so you're stuck in a shitty area. And then, dude, if you're not able to provide and, you know, get better means for your own life, and then you have kids, your kids already fucking have a hand tied wrapped behind their back. So, dude, like, crime just may be a result from that, right? And if we're not fucking giving cities like New York $6 billion in fucking annual New York City fucking police funding, maybe $2 billion can be fucking put into fucking shitty neighborhoods so they can have a better social programs to help them make better decisions. And then you do that at an early age, and then you fast forward 10 years when it's time for them to go to fucking high school. It's a clear choice of like, yeah, I'm going to high school. I'm not gonna just go and fucking hang on the corner and, you know, sell fucking rocks for the next 10 years, you know? So I feel like that all comes from the fucking system itself. Like, if you're fucking born in a certain zip code, you are fucked. You know what I mean? Like, that's just a matter of the facts. And like, yeah, there's outliers who fucking go above and beyond and they have goals, but fuck, dude, the average kid fucking born in Boca Raton just naturally has a better chance at life, and it's maybe just because that's all they know, right? So I feel like there's just no equality as far as like, I just want a chance. Like, I'm not saying I need to be the fucking president of the fucking country or CEO of this, but I just want to have a chance to make a good living and provide for my family. And I feel like depending on what zip code you were born in, you're already fucked because there's no money being invested to you, because pretty much America has said, well, we're okay with this side of the country being fucked, or we'll come in, buy everything, and then fucking charge you double the price, and then if you want to stay here, figure it out. It's like, bro, what? Like,
Yeah.
How do you want this to work?
Yeah, that's wild. My brother, who's in real estate, actually told me that, like, when in this specific area people were gentrifying shit, they basically were like, I'm like selling this shit off, but I'm buying a bunch of houses like fucking 100 miles away. I'll hook you up if you want to live there. Otherwise, like, sorry.
You're fucked, bro.
Yeah, you're fucked. But
Like,
I did want to ask you.
In one of those areas, though, like, legit, dude, like, maybe if you own, you have a chance, but if you rent, these fucking landlords are fucking charging your rent like 5 times what it was when you moved in 15 years ago, and saying, hey, I got a fucking NYU student ready to pay this shit because they're coming from a rich mom and dad. You got a month to figure it out. It's like, holy shit.
Yeah. But I wanted to ask you about because a lot of people argue also the whole model minority thing with Asians, and I saw this white dude who was trying to basically claim that privilege in this country doesn't exist, and he was saying, look at Asians and Indians and blah blah, like, they're wealthy minorities, they're wealthier than like the average white person or whatever the case is. But again, like, I'm not fully educated on the specifics on why that is, but in terms of some theories, I feel like, one, there's plenty of people who emigrate to this country who are doing well off over there and just simply want to establish or build an empire out here with their connections that they might have overseas. Two, my dad's from Jamaica, and even though he grew up poor, from the sounds of it, I think education was just different over there. It sounded like, in a lot of these countries,
what I know, they're coming over highly educated.
Yeah.
So they already come over with a leg up on the kid, the same person their age who grew up in a, you know, fucking third world city essentially in America that did not have access to those paths of education. Right? People are coming over with fucking doctorates and master degrees. So yeah, they may be new to the country, but if they apply for a job, they're more likely to get it than fucking Stan, who grew up in fucking Marcy projects in Brooklyn and had no access to any of that for fucking that first 18 years of his life. So that's where I see that these foreigners come over here with an upper hand. Either they come with some kind of money that they can put towards a down payment to get equity and you know start building their wealth, or they come over with intellectual equity where they already come with some skills that the average person who comes from a very, I would think, from a very poor neighborhood just doesn't have access to.
Yeah, no, that's a solid point. And there is a group I'm part of called Subtle Asian Traits. It's basically just a group of mainly Asian people who share memes and stuff regarding like growing up Asian, basically. But one thing I did notice is a lot of them weren't afraid to suggest that their parents had it easier back then coming to the country than they might have it now, which seems kind of ironic considering how like we're in the age of the internet and like it seems like starting up any old business is like easy as fuck. But I guess in their mind, things, even though like racism may have been more overt back then. For whatever reason, it was easier for like boomers to kind of follow their American dream, I guess.
Well, I would only say that, and I think, excuse me, my bad. I would only say the reason why I may agree with that, bro. Look at like obviously I had other podcasts about millennials, so I did research on this. So look at our generation, right? A lot of people our age, their parents were making essentially the same amount of money 30 years ago. So things was just more affordable back then, and that money could lead to you, buying an office front or a storefront in San Francisco and actually being able to afford it. Bro, our people our age, I can't go, like, where the fuck am I going to buy some shit right now as a fucking new person to this country,
Wow.
right? So I think the options to get the economy going and, these fucking tech companies shooting the prices up back, now, like, unlike back then, there was just more opportunity to actually make it and be able to afford to make it, right? Because obviously money makes money, right? But whereas now, bro, like, fuck, man, you want to buy a storefront in this day and age with the fucking, remember, the technology, not even if you don't have a technology-based company, bro, like shit like Amazon, like, bro, like, you're competing against something that never existed 30 years ago, right? Like, you could have your storefront and be consistent with the people coming in and out of your store. You're now, 30 years later, we're now competing with a fucking store in Wyoming when I'm a fucking store here in Pompano, Florida, right? Because of fucking technology, because they can, they can get access to that. They don't, like, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
that's why I think they had the advantage back then, that they had a chance to just have a good service, provide a product, and their local community could support it. Whereas now, pre-corona, bro, like, why the fuck would I go to the mall? You know what I mean? And then now I'm like, dude, why would I ever go to a mall, right? So, like, I just think it's our generation has our kind of, in a kind of way, like, hands behind our back. I mean, there's always ways for us to be entrepreneurs and make things happen, but it definitely has to be in mind with what tech can do to prevent you from really popping off. Whereas I think back then, man, you can make a good living just having a fucking local store, being a fucking dry cleaner or something, or whatever it is, man, selling fucking widgets or whatever, and you actually could make a great living, put money aside for your kid's future. Whereas now, bro, like, your rent's through the roof, and then you're competing with everyone in the world as opposed to just the store two cities away, So,
Yeah. No, that's a great point. They teach you that shit in your MBA?
I don't know, man. It just came to me.
It's like you studied for this.
Yo, but back to Rona though, bro. So, what do you think is gonna happen? Because, like, our two states right now is not looking good, bro. So, like, what have you been reading the news? Like, have you been turning the news on? Like, how do you feel about this shit right now? Because this shit has me shook.
Yeah, no. I think it was my brothers who sent me a link on Instagram. The governor was basically saying, they might have to implement the same restrictions that we had a couple months back or whatever, where, like, no questions asked, like, everything closed.
Yeah.
Including parks and businesses of all sorts and everything, which is scary because, I mean, I was actually pretty comfortable with the current state of things, like being able to kind of normalize my life, and to think that it could go back to that shit for, like, the next couple months, to me says, like, this shit might last a whole nother year, like, completely.
Yeah.
And the fact that, like, at this point in time things haven't been fixed is scary. And I know, like, other countries like Korea, for instance, have been handling it much better than us, but even there, I think, reporting spikes and stuff. So, like, all around, I'm kind of concerned with how long we'll have to deal with this new norm, because I can deal with it for, several months, maybe 6 months, but, like, to think that we might deal with this for another year or 2 years or whatever, forever, like, is scary.
Yeah, dude, my thing is the irony of when 4 years ago or 3.5 years ago, our president's fucking putting, bans on anyone coming to the country, build a wall, and now Europe's like, listen, motherfuckers, July 1st, don't even think about coming to our country until you figure this shit out, because dude, I think as of right now, they're looking at the entire European Union is looking at 3,000 cases on a weekly basis, bro. That's the entire, like, multiple countries. Mm-hmm. And our entire country is looking at 27,000 per week new cases. Like, bro, that is insane. Like, dude, like, talk about flattening the curve. Like, our shit went like up, went down, and then it's going to go. I'm like, bro, what is happening? So yeah, dude, it's terrifying, man. Like fuck it. Like I know I can't do this shit. I mean, if I have to do it, obviously we're gonna do it. But like the idea of doing this shit for another year really fucking sucks, man. And like not being able I mean, I'm good working from home, but like the weekend vibes or like that shit, like now like, that's gonna be restricted again. Bro, it just sucks, man. It just sucks, bro. Like, dude, like I'm going to New York next week. I'm driving, so I think I'm fine. But dude, apparently, if you fly in from Florida to New York, you got to fucking self-quarantine for 14 days.
Wow. And that was just like a recent thing?
But the funny thing is that Florida did that to New York. So New York's like, all right, motherfucker, you come here.
Damn.
Dude, it's funny, dude. It's what I don't like, and this is why, again, I don't like to get political in this shit, but like, dude, all these European nations like came together. Even if it was country by country, like the rules in Italy were the rules in Italy. It wasn't the rules in Rome versus the rules in Milan versus the rules in Naples, bro. It's the rules. This is what we're doing. Whereas, dude, it's like, well, Florida's doing this, but New York's doing that, and California's doing this. But it's like, bro, we're the United States. There should be fucking one rule, and that's the end of this shit, bro. We can't because I guarantee most of the shit's like, all right, things are great in Florida. Let's all fucking go somewhere else, and then or people started coming here and they started spreading it even more. It's like, bro, we gotta just have the fucking same rule across the fucking land, not just like, yeah, well, you little city in Iowa, you do what you want to do, but you know, here in North Dakota, we're gonna do this. I'm like, bro, we have to be on the same page because people can just drive to each other's fucking state, and this shit's not gonna stop. So
yeah,
and it just seems so fucking common sense, but then you start looking like, yo, how is our system set up that like? We just don't have one rule. Like, bro, we're doing this for 4 months. Everyone get on fucking board or you're fucked.
Yeah, it's crazy. And completely random side note, but this past weekend I bought my first firearm. So
you did?
I mean, I don't have it on me. So this gets into the whole like separation of rules. For some reason in California, you have to wait 10 days from point of purchase to picking it up.
Because they're doing background checks?
But so when I took my first safety training class, the guy said it's the background check realistically only takes like a day, but he's like, it's really a cool off period. So let's say you piss off at your neighbor and you're like, fuck it, I'm gonna go get a shotgun. You can't just go to the store and then come back and blast his ass. 10 days later, in theory, you'll change your mind because you've cooled down.
If you're still mad about it, fine, just go ahead and kill him. But like,
which I actually have no problems with. But a lot of gun owners,
that's a very common sense rule I like.
Yeah, but in California, it's weird because like for some reason, you're not. There's like an off the roster list of guns you can't have, and for whatever reason, you can't own like newer models of the same gun. So it'd be like if in California you went to a Toyota dealership and they only had stuff like before 2018 or some shit, which is dumb because it's the item's just as dangerous. And I know like in the South and even like Florida and stuff, you can carry concealed weapons easily. You can have all kinds of crazy assault rifles, but in California and New York, the rules are pretty strict. So that kind of made me think about how like it's weird that the U.S. it's almost like 50 individual countries, and I know some people really have argued that it's one better that way because you have the ability to kind of pick and choose the areas that you prefer, and then some people I think have made the argument that the cities and towns are like set up in a way where you can't have the same sort of rules that apply to the entire country. So like I guess in the case of like coronavirus, maybe like a super rural place like, I'm just making this up, like Nebraska or some shit, doesn't have many cases, so maybe they feel like they can openly have restaurants and stuff, whereas like a dense place like New York, they're like, fuck it, we're shutting everything down. And then Florida, based on whatever they see, might think it's right to open up. So
Yeah,
I don't know
so
if that's
I
the
would
best
say,
approach, but yeah, I agree with
I
you.
mean, I feel like what I would do, like again, I agree. Like, why if I was the fucking governor of Wyoming and I have 100 cases for my 3 million fucking population, why should I shut anything down? You know what I mean? But I think if you have like a certain number for a course of 7 days straight, then you fall into this bucket, and that's whatever the government of the United States says it has to be. So like, yeah, we'll let you do your own thing, but once you reach this number, all right, you fall under U.S. protocols for pandemic prevention, and you have to do this. Because I just feel like numbers are going up, and these motherfuckers are still rolling out phase 2, phase 3. I'm like, bro, we need to figure out phase 1. Like, how do we stop this shit? So, yeah, man, it's just wild, bro. And like, yeah, when like literally the governor of New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, midnight tonight, anyone flying in from 10 different states who are above the 10% for the last 7 days have to quarantine for 14 days straight. Wow.
Well, I'm glad I didn't get a flight because my girl and I were thinking of coming to Florida next month. This shit was like $80.
Well, you could probably come here. It's just you can't go to New York.
Oh, okay. Well, either way, like just with everything going on, I'm like, I might as well stay put.
You might as well stay put, bro.
So much for Jamaica.
Oh, I know, bro. Fuck, man. It's wild, bro. Like, yeah, hopefully we figure this shit out, but it's just so disappointing how, like, you just see other countries who had it worse than you, and you're like, how are we still here, bro? Like, it's just so hysterical. And I know, I'm not trying to say we're, Democrats, Republicans on this shit, but it's just so funny how, like, those videos of, like, Trump from, like, January through March 1st, he's like, it's gonna come, it's gonna go, it's not a big deal, it's like the flu, blah blah blah. It's like, no, mother, people are dying. Like, why don't you take this shit serious?
Right.
And like, they just thought like, what, it's gonna like a hurricane, like, oh, it's gonna go right past us and keep going. Like, yo, this shit is spreading everywhere. Like, why can't we just stop this? And like, there was one stat they put out, I think John Hopkins or somebody, like, if he would have put a national lockdown a week earlier, like 80,000 lives could have been saved. Something stupid, bro. So, yeah, man, it is fucking wild, bro. And like, yeah, like again, Florida, I think week to week we have like a 73% increase in cases. Like, again, I think the numbers have always been this high, but now they're being forced to put out the real numbers, and bro, the real numbers are atrocious. Like, yeah. And dude, the funniest thing is like the way the governor. So 2 months ago, dude, Florida was doing amazing, quote unquote. Like the NBA's coming here, everyone's coming to Florida to do their thing, like come to Florida. So the governor went asked, like, hey, what are you guys doing that's so amazing? Bro, he sounded like a dude who cheated on his test, and his professor asked him, like, yo, how'd you get 100? And he's like, and the governor's like, yo, wash your hands, wear a mask, social distance, everything's fine. And then now that fucking everything's gone to shit, they're like, hey, so what happened with your plans, blah, blah. Well, dude, he legit said, well, Florida's at a disadvantage because we have a high number of Hispanic workers spreading it. And I'm like, bro, damn. What? Bro, just a fucking mini Trump in this core, bro. And just like oblivious to it, has no idea what to do either way.
Did you guys, I'm curious if, because you were one of the few states to like actually open up, was there a surge in incoming flights for people who were trying to get away? Because I do know someone I worked with who traveled specifically to Florida to escape everything. So I'm curious if maybe other out-of-state people helped fuck it up for you guys.
I don't think there was a huge influx because when you land, they were doing the you have to self-quarantine for 14 days. So even if you landed, you really couldn't be out and about. I mean, again, I don't know how you mandate that, right? Like, how does that work? Like, all right, sure, guy, I won't go out, and I still go out. So, but again, I really think the numbers have just been high constantly, bro. And like, they're being forced to tell the truth now, and they can't hide the fact that it's been bad this long when they thought dude, again, we were never on lockdown, bro. I can go wherever the fuck I want to go and just, come back home. But as far as like grocery stores, like, bro, this shit was never on lockdown, bro. It was just like, hey, you can't work in the office anymore, but everything else, it's fine. So yeah, but again, man, that's our political views and fucking for the day. I still want to get into some music, so we'll do like we'll storm through this thing. I don't want to give this too much time, but I do want to give you credit because I didn't think at all that Trolls by 6ix9ine and Nicki would even do top 10. The shit finished top number 1, which is super fucking like incredible to me. I was like, holy shit. And his victory lap has still been going on for the past 4 days. But your boy has a little nav in him where apparently I didn't even think about this when like the merch was being sold. The merch sold out. So apparently that had a lot to do with this shit going number 1 as well. I have a good feeling this shit won't be number 1 next week just because of that. But like, how do you feel about him going number 1 and the way it happened?
Yeah, I mean, merch or not, like the fact
it's
that
still
he came,
dope. He's still number 1. Look at the charts. He's number 1 for sure.
I think for him it's a little different just because I feel like you can't fake the merch purchases. I mean, I guess you could fudge it, but regardless, like he came out of jail after snitching and ended up having an even bigger career, which in hindsight makes a lot of sense because now he's more like interesting and more of a spectacle. But when I heard the Trolls track for the first time with Nicki on it, I genuinely liked it more than the original one, Fifi, and it sounded genuinely like a good song to me. The other ones, like before he went to jail, I felt like were kind of mediocre for the most part. I mean, they were dope and like funny to like jam out to, but I would never seriously play it in my car or whatever that often. But, like these tracks just seem more like industry and hit focused. And I didn't necessarily know if he was gonna make it a number 1, but I knew it was gonna make some noise. I think the only thing I was unsure of was if the whole Black Lives Matter movement would kind of overshadow all that. But I think when he released,
that's what I thought. Like my gut was leaning towards that. I'm like, yo, no one's trying to hear this shit right now. You're a fucking cop. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. But he gave it like what, 2 weeks to call for it to cool off, basically.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, to his credit, he said, "Yeah, I'm gonna keep pushing this back because it's not the right time for this." But
yeah,
dude, kudos to him, man. A number 1 record, the number 1 record. Like a lot of people can't say they have a number 1 record, and that's like a lot of like really big time artists. Like I don't think Future's ever had a number 1 single on the charts. Meek Mill's never had one. I mean, there's a lot of people, bro, that we call like stars in this hip hop game that never done it before. So, dude, kudos to him. Fucking 2 months out of prison and already number 1 on the charts. Like that's, again, he made it work. But I would put $20 down that he won't be number 1 next week. Like I don't know. I'm not saying what's gonna be number 1, but I just think like all the work that went into like making the number 1. Like I think that was more a manipulation of the game, but then I can't blame him, right? You can't hate the player, hate the game. Like,
yeah,
his team knows now what to do, right? What I think is his team before was like, yo, we'll make you the troll, like blah blah blah. But like, I think whatever management team he has right now is very aware of the fucking blind spots that are in the industry to make sure if you want to be number 1, bro, we're gonna be number 1.
Yeah, and I definitely don't think he's producing like A1 music that, you know, is up there with Drake and shit like that. But I think people forget like all of this is marketing, and you can market if you know how to market a B level product better than, or if you have A level marketing for a B level product as opposed to B level marketing for an A level product, I feel like the A marketing is going to mean more, which I feel like is what he's exactly what he's doing right now. So don't get it twisted in thinking that, you know, we or I think that his music is the best shit since sliced bread. I think it's just he's been able to keep people's attention, especially now, and if he's doing it well, like kudos to him. I think other artists should learn something from it, not snitching and shit, but more so thinking, hey, I need to like focus on how I'm gonna approach this release and, you know, combine merch with it and all that other positive stuff as opposed to the antics or anything.
Yeah, dude. Again, kudos to him. But speaking about, we were both leaning towards like we thought the whole Black Lives Matter thing would be a as far as not a detriment, but like if the music wasn't representative of that, maybe we wouldn't be checking for it. Obviously, this song proves that's not really the case right now. Like, I guess if you're just putting out what the people may want, your people are gonna listen to it, right? So How do you feel about Lil Yachty like talking about, well, I'm not really promoting my album because, you know, the movement right now? Because I feel like, bro, if you feel that way, like your album dropped in the midst of all this, so why just not drop it? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
So like, how did you feel when he came when he was saying that?
I mean, I understand, but at the same time, like to your point, if he did drop it, then just keep that same energy. Like, I don't think anyone's gonna. You don't have to go hard and like overshadow the movement. Just post both things. If you feel strongly about the movement, you can post about that, and then next post say like, hey, don't forget to check this out, get this merch here or whatever. Like, I think it's all about the approach, and if he's afraid about, you know, upsetting people, that's one thing. But if he feels strongly about the movement, then talk about it if you really want to, and do both things. I don't see why we have to pretend like we're out here exclusively thinking about Black Lives Matter at any given moment of the day. Like, there are moments where, hey, I want to fucking play video games and drink a beer. Like, I'm not out here fucking protesting 24 hours a day.
Agreed. Dude, I really think this may have to do again. Well, you know how like artists, when they're in contracts, they have to put out a certain amount of albums before they can get out of the contract. Bro, because he made a couple comments about like him not really being that cool with QC, just the same way Lil Baby has been like hinting at that. So I wonder if this was just him like, yo, I'm gonna put this album out. I actually do. I heard a few songs. Like, it actually is a good album. I've never called Yachty music good ever, bro. But I wonder if it's just him putting music out to get out of that situation with QC and become his own artist.
I guess it could be that, but do you think it would be odd for him to put in that level of effort at this late in like the contract, if that's what he's trying to do?
If he's trying to get signed by somebody else?
I mean, that is true.
Yeah, I mean, like, you want to put out trash, and they're like, yeah, we'll do. I'm not signing that shit. Yeah. But if
putting in work in a job that you hate, basically.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, yeah, I don't know. It was confusing to me. Like, that's the only angle I can see, bro. Because otherwise, if I was saying like, yo, guys, this is a great album. Let's just hold off. I'll put it out in 6 months from now. It'll still be relevant. Because, dude, to drop music right now and then come out and say I'm not going to promote it because of this, I'm like, bro, then why put it out in the first place? Like,
yeah,
it's kind of counterproductive. Another thing that I kind of wanted to get into, dude, it was like we can do as much or as little time as you want on this, but the beeper thing, I think they already cleared that up, so I'm not even trying to go into that. But dude, have you fucking been following this whole Bubba Wallace NASCAR thing?
For the most part, when I first saw the story, I was a little skeptical. It kind of had that Jussie Smollett vibe to it.
Bro, a lot of it, yeah.
I'm like, because I know people are racist, but like when I hear like nooses and like old school shit, I'm like, unless you're fucking in the depths of like Alabama or some shit, I'm like, it's just a foreign concept to me, I guess. And I'm like, you know, the timing is kind of perfect. Even like with the people that have been getting like hung around the country, I'm not at all saying it's not true or like these racist things aren't happening, but they're so extreme and coincidental that I'm not gonna just repost something without fucking investigating the story.
Yeah. Dude, for me, so like one thing, so I worked and lived in Charlotte for 2 years, so I know how big. Like, obviously, I'm in the most southern state in Florida, but dude, Florida's not the South. Like, you know, Miami and Orlando is like its own little country, and then the rest is the South, right? So, but living in Charlotte, that's the South, bro. They have the fucking NASCAR Hall of Fame in fucking Charlotte.
Yeah.
So, bro, that's a very racist sport. Like, very racist, bro. So, the movement towards removing the Confederate flag from fucking things, that made sense to me.
Yeah.
But the noose thing, and if people don't know, like, apparently this the only black racer in the NASCAR, he walked to his car and like he claimed he saw a noose. He still stands by that, but they did an investigation and apparently there was no noose. But the media just fucking leached to this thing and was like, they're trying to do a hate crime against him. This is what's wrong with NASCAR. It was a fucking inside job. These people are giving him a hug, but then trying to get him killed, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, bro, this just seems, again, it might be right, but dude, are we doing any research right now? Or is it like any minority can just say whatever the fuck they want And it's like, you better fucking believe me, because like this feels like the Me Too movement, where like girls were just jumping in and saying, well, oh, they're gonna listen to me now, and fucking ruining fucking actors' careers with no substance behind it. But because it was during the movement, you know, dude, I remember like Aziz Ansari, bro, like his situation with that girl, where like she accused him of like raping her, and it was like, but you gave me a blowjob. Like, I'm like, how does that work? Like, so like, this feels kind of like that again. I don't know if he's lying. I don't know. But I just wish there was more research into this shit before, like, literally the day it happens, it's fucking all over every news fucking station, ESPN, CNN, Fox News, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, yo, do we know all the facts? Like, why couldn't this come out after the FBI investigation? Like, hey, there was a theory about this, but we found out, all right, cool. As opposed to, like, because I feel like now people are going to be even more skeptical when news comes out if we have all these examples where it's proven to be incorrect. Yeah. So I just wish we were a little bit more fact checking. Again, if he felt that way, I have no issue with him coming out. But the way the fucking news, because I feel like the news was not saying we're waiting for investigation. It was like, this happened for sure. And it's like, well, yeah. Do we know that? Like, do we know that happened for sure?
Yeah. And I think like, well, I started being this way back when Trump became president, and like this whole fake news, like hashtag or whatever memes started happening, because I mean, I think there were definitely instances where the media misinterpreted Trump's words or like fudged them a bit. And then on the flip side, like alt-right or whatever, people fudging things and making it seem like something it wasn't. So like, for me, all around, I'm like, I'm not willing to just repost something or get on board with something until I myself have like researched a bunch of different like unbiased articles or heard things from the people themselves. And with the news thing, I was just like, I mean, initially, I don't think there was really any evidence yet. So I was like, I'm not even gonna repost this and be like, see how horrible the world is, blah blah blah. I'm sure shit like this happens, but yeah, I'm also sure that NASCAR, like,
yo, that is the most racist sport, bro.
Yeah, like monster trucks and shit.
They fucking flew over. Do you see that shit? Some like fan like flew over the NASCAR race in Talladega with of the Confederate flag and saying defund NASCAR and shit. It's like, bro, like, why are you standing by this flag, bro? Like, what the fuck is wrong with you?
I don't know what it is with NASCAR and guns, because even ever since before I owned my firearm, I did a shit ton of research. 99% of the videos are like white dudes with beards who live in the South, and like I couldn't find one, like, not Asian, not black, not Middle Eastern. Like, it's just all of these guys who are gun enthusiasts and NASCAR enthusiasts, monster trucks and shit. I don't know when this or how this stuff became popular, but it's just interesting to me to know that there's these like weird, crazy subcultures that probably like.
Bro, but the funny thing is, there's a bunch of black fans of NASCAR, but are still only go to NASCAR races when they're held like in a very metropolitan city, and like won't go and travel to see their favorite race because like, yo, they don't feel safe, bro. Like, even though they're technically one of their own, but they're still not. You know what I mean? Like, how would you feel like if you're an avid fucking Bubba Wallace fan, or even like if your favorite racer is a white guy, but you fucking pull up to a tailgate and there's all these fucking Confederate flags, and you're just like, oh yeah, this is cool. This is fine.
Yeah. Like, no, that would definitely make me feel uncomfortable. I mean, I've always kind of, part of me has been interested in going to a Trump rally just to see what it's like, or like to see how other people there would treat me, because I think everyone can agree.
Yo, but there's a lot of black guys there though.
Yeah, there's a lot of them there, but I'm curious if they're real, if the supporters are really open and welcoming to these people, or if it's kind of like, okay, like, we got this black guy here who's gonna help get us our vote, but like at the end of the day we're gonna fuck them over or ignore them, and pretend like we care about them when in reality we just want their vote. Like, I'm curious if there's that sort of vibe in these places, or if it's really like, yeah, like, you know, fuck the establishment, like, and the Democrats who haven't done shit for any of us. Like, I'm really curious to see how those people there think and behave.
Yeah, it's wild, dude. So last political thing before we get into Heat of the Week, and I think we've actually had some really good music come out the past like 5 days. Dude, what do you think about when some of these states that have had some of the worst black crimes happen, right? The most like African Americans killed by either themselves or the police are all Democratic states. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, I think Chicago has the worst, obviously, number of blacks killed on a daily basis. That's been a black mayor or governor for the past like 25 years straight. Same thing in Ferguson. Same thing in Baltimore. So like, does that ever like come into your psyche when I'm like sometimes I'm like, yo, yeah, for sure. Like when I go to the fucking polls, I'm voting blue for sure. But then you see some of these states that have had the most fucking problems. And like they're technically a blue state, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like, how do you feel about like that? Is there a correlation, or that's just like an anomaly? And like sometimes these like Democrats are still tied behind, the way the system has been set up for them.
Yeah, I think ever since the Hillary Trump election, that was when I officially was like, I'm not a Democrat or Republican. I just want someone in office who can get the job done. It's always been weird to me kind of being tribal and blindly at least subscribing to a specific party. There's some people, you put a fucking turtle in there as a Democrat and they'll vote for him, and vice versa for Republicans. But I mean, I definitely have taken notice of that, and I've always been curious like why people vote, especially within the black community, Democrat, like without even thinking. And to me, it's kind of like religion in some senses, where you're kind of just born into it and you don't decide for yourself like if this is a fit for you, I guess. Like, I don't know too many people who transition from one religion to another. I guess that would be a lot more extreme than
you got to be able to be fucking
party.
Open-minded though, right? That's the thing. Like you got to be able to understand other people's point of view. Yeah, I think you're just kind of born into like, oh, my dad was this, my mom was this. Yeah. I grew up in this area. Because if you think about it, you go to even like a more macro level, bro. Like when Barack was fucking president for 8 years, like white cops were still killing black people. You know what I mean? Like that was still happening. So it's just curious. Like I feel like sometimes we become like prisoners of the moment, and like it's like, oh, we gotta vote blue. If you love black people, you gotta vote blue. It's like, well, I probably am, but because I don't want to see Trump. Like if Trump was a blue, I would fucking vote red. You know what I mean? Like I just don't want him in fucking office. But I feel like sometimes you have to like, look back. It's like, damn, bro, some of these states where like the most people are getting killed by white cops, or crime is the worst, or infrastructures for like minorities is terrible, are fucking Democratic states. Is like, bro, like what the fuck are you doing once you get in office? Like what are you doing? So that's the confusing part for me. Especially when I go to the polls in a couple weeks, down here in Florida, or next month, I think. I feel like, we can't be so blinded to be like, I gotta vote blue for everything. But then like you're like, all right, but if I don't vote blue, and this guy's still gonna be in office, so like if I vote red for certain things, and he's gonna have more power when it comes to the fucking Senate, so it's like, bro, what the fuck?
Yeah. Super random question that came to mind, and I've been thinking about this just because Chicago's such a crime-ridden city, and it's just like, I think Father's Day there was like 200 shootings or some crazy shit.
Something wild, bro. I think like 175.
Yeah, 100 something.
Killed.
Yeah, something stupid.
And like 170 by them, like them killing each other. It wasn't no cop. Like it was just like them. Like, oh man, terrible.
I mean, there's a running joke that they have the worst aim because there's always like 200 shootings, but like 3 people die. But regardless, I've always thought to myself, like, how would I solve that in the quickest fashion? And I'm curious if you think something like a very strict, like, militarized approach to it, where you kind of stopped and frisked every individual and just had like tanks and shit posted up on the street.
So I wouldn't do that, bro, because I remember how racist. I feel that leads to more racism, because I was in New York when they had the whole stop and frisk thing, that a cop can see anyone walk by and can just frisk them with no warrant, nothing. And that led to cops picking mainly black and Latinos as opposed to frisking white guys, right? So dude, I would do 2 things. So like we're so fucking proud of the Second Amendment, or the second, the second,
Right
the
to bear arms.
Constitution? Yeah, right to bear arms, bro. Dude, this isn't fucking whenever the fuck that was written, bro. Times are fucking different now, bro. Like, I look at London and England, bro, no one has guns out there, and no one's getting fucking killed like they are here, bro. Like, dude, I know you just got a gun, but obviously you got a gun because you're just the world you live in, right? But if the world you lived in, you knew that no one else was strapped, you'd probably be like, I don't need a fucking gun. Like, worst case scenario, I'll fucking fight someone, have a conversation aggressively, but I need to fucking pull out a gun. Bro, we should have the strictest fucking gun laws, bro. Like, the strictest. And this shit would be solved. Like, dude, overnight, dude, you have a gun, you turn that shit in, we're gonna fucking come after you and you're going to jail. Like, dude, I would just fucking demolish that fucking amendment or whatever constitution and fucking make adjustments for fucking today. Like, there's too much shit that is not fucking applied to 2020. Like, bro, we're not living. We can make changes, bro. We can't just be like, this is the way it is because our founding fathers were all fucking racist and had slaves. So like, what? So we're just fucking picking and choosing. Well, that's wrong, but this is okay, bro. Look at the world today. The countries in the world that have the best as far as law enforcement or less death on a day-to-day basis have the strictest fucking gun laws. Like, and we can't, like, I don't know, we're so fucking afraid to fucking take guns from Americans. And I feel like most Americans have guns because they know their neighbor may have a gun. You know what I mean? Or the fucking crackhead down the street may fucking roll up on you and fucking want. Okay, if we make it hard for us, we're gonna make it harder for the crackhead to get a gun, right? They just guns are just too easily fucking dispersed through the streets, bro. Like, I remember like that fucking show I used to watch, Top Boy, bro. Like, they had to borrow guns from the same guy. Like, two like opposing gangs had to go to the same guy to borrow guns. So like, if they borrow guns on Monday, they're like, yo, we can't go out because they got guns today. Like, bro, that's how hard it is, man. Like, we should make that shit impossible for you to own a gun. Like, not like, oh, you have to take a test first. Nah, fuck that. No one has a gun, bro. No one. And I think, we would be in a fucking, like, the killings would go down astronomically in this fucking country, bro.
Yeah.
Because remember, like, the excuse the cops are using is that, oh, we saw him reaching. If you know he's not reaching now, because there's no way he has a gun, there should be less fucking, that excuse is removed, and now you're fucking forced to handle it appropriately, hopefully in a different way, so.
Yeah, personally, I think the U.S. is far too deep in the sense that if tomorrow, let's say, guns were illegal, I feel like there's so many, I think they said there's more guns than people in the U.S. I feel like at that point, the criminals would literally, I don't know, bury it in the ground and just still have access to it. But I definitely agree it shouldn't be as easy as it is to get it now. But my concern is that we're just at this point like flooded with guns to the point where, like, I think some criminals have said they could, in the hood, can get a fucking any old handgun for like $30 or some dumb shit. So it's pretty crazy.
Yeah, I mean, it's gonna be an investment. I mean, all change is fucking painful, but I don't know, man. I just look at country. I remember like London, bro. Like, dude, you fucking, like, that's why people have like fucking like knife fights and like people get stabbed up. Like, if someone wants to hurt you, they're gonna hurt you. But shoot, dude, like, I have a much better chance of surviving if you're coming at me with a fucking knife as opposed to you have a fucking Glock on you. And I'm just like, well, like, this is it for me. So,
yeah,
I know. That's what I would do, bro. I would just get super aggressive when it comes to gun laws. Again, this is coming from someone who obviously doesn't own a gun, has no plan on owning a gun. But, again, just looking at the world around us, like, only in America is this shit just so simple that, I want a gun today. All right, cool. Wait 5 days. Come back.
Yeah. Hopefully they don't watch this podcast. They're gonna be like, yo, I'm denying this motherfucker.
Yeah, right? What the fuck? You trying to ruin my business? Alright, dude, so before we dip, Heat of the Week. Remember, Heat of the Week playlist available on Spotify and Apple Music. I think we probably have the same one, so I got two, but what is your Heat of the Week?
So mine's not quite the one that you're thinking of because I haven't had a chance to listen to it fully, but the one I do like that I've heard recently is by this another white dude named Soli Had, featuring Melly. It's called Crush. upon the first time listening to it,
Melly, who's locked up?
Melly, she's like a Dominican chick, I think.
Oh, okay. I thought it was Melly, like a YNM, whatever.
Oh
Melly,
no, not that
like...
dude. Sorry,
Okay.
Melli.
Okay.
The song's called Crush. Has a cool, like, laid back summer, like, R&B poppy vibe to it.
Okay.
Upon first listening to it, it was kind of corny in my opinion, but then I heard it a few more times and like I actually really liked it.
Nice.
Smooth track kind of helped me get away from all the super intense, like, either BLM or just like hood rat shit that I would normally listen to. More soothing. Needed kind of an escape for a little bit, so that's my heat of the week.
Nice. Send me that after this so I can add it to the playlist.
Sure.
Dude, for me, I'm gonna go then, since you didn't pick it, I'm gonna go with What's Poppin' remix, Jack Harlow. So you haven't heard it at all? You haven't really given a deep dive?
So I heard a Jack Harlow snippet and Tory Lanez's snippet. I haven't heard the rest of it though.
All right, well, I'm gonna ruin this movie for you because I'm gonna give you my entire, not just like hear the week of the people,
No,
I'm gonna give you my fucking breakdown. So remember, I told you, so Robs, I'm gonna rank who had the best flow. Dude, Jack Harlow had the best flow because he did it, because I feel like with most remixes, like I remember like The Baby, like when the main person whose song it is has like that hit and other people hop on, they just do like the same track over and then, you know, call a remix. So Jack Harlow changed his entire fucking 16 bars, bro. He fucking killed it. Like, killed it. So he's number one, and kudos to him because it's his song. He should be number one. And then, bro, I'm going to go with Lil Wayne slightly ahead of The Baby for number two. And what was dope about it, bro, is that Lil Wayne repeated a lot of the same verses from Jack Harlow's original song. So that was cool because it's kind of like, yo, giving him a nod, like, bro, you really killed this shit. Wow. I'm going to borrow some of your lines and also incorporate my own shit. So that was amazing. And The Baby did a really good job. And then there's Tory Lanez, bro. Again, this is not me hating. I know what you're going to say. But this is just me saying, bro, like, there's a lot of, like, similar hip-hop beats that come out, you know, over the course of a year. Like, there's a sound over the past 2 years that maybe is very, like, familiar. Bro, this beat, I could listen for an hour straight with no lyrics, you know, just instrumental on loop. Like, this is a very specific beat that you have to ride that beat very well. Bro, Tory's just rapping. Like, it could be any beat. Like, you know, it could be anything. He's just like, he's not in sync with it. He's just like, what he's saying isn't bad. Like, he's saying some clever shit. But I'm like, bro, you're not riding the beat. Like, bro, you gotta give this beat some fucking respect.
Yeah.
So for that alone, I was like, bro, you're last, bro. You're just last to me. But dude, definitely hear the week. What's Poppin' remix, bro? Like, sometimes a remix really fucking let you down, bro. This is fucking great.
Nice. Yeah, I kind of did get that gist from when I heard Tory's thing. It was kind of like I heard him rapping fast and shit, but from the like 4 seconds I heard, it didn't sound like he was doing anything super unique. So I'm really curious to hear the full thing.
Yeah, hear it tonight. Let me know what you think. But yeah, dude, I had to give that nod to Lil Wayne because he was saying some like he kind of like, it was the very much the essence of what the original song was. But dude, the fact that he was giving him nods by using his lines, like, again, I was like, damn, bro. Like, you know, Jack Harlow's like on some shit when Lil Wayne is like fucking quoting you on your own song. I was like, bro, this is fucking such a fucking kudos right now. So that was super impressive.
How long do you think it'll take for him to really pop off? Because I know with sometimes when these artists have these big songs, it works against them because it's like they're chasing this shit forever. But
dude, I really think he might. I mean, again, I think he has a lot of clout right now. Obviously, with the thing of the world, like, it's hard. I feel like if he was touring more, blah blah blah, like, you know. But dude, everything he's been putting out is super fucking catchy. And if you look at like who he's working with, like, just fuck this remix, like he's working with like everyone in the industry. Like, he has like respect of a lot of people. I think he's being very genuine, right? He's not just some rapper, SoundCloud rapper trying to pop on and, you know, culture vulture and then, you know, keep it moving. Like, I feel like he has a lot of fucking like, yo, we respect you, we like what you're doing, you're very unique in your approach. So I don't know, but I think he's gonna be like, I don't know how big he's gonna get, but bro, this shit, the few songs he's put out, bro, are very fucking good. Like, very good. And I don't know who's making his beats, but damn, his beat selection and the way his flow matches that shit is fucking on par most times.
Yep.
So
I wonder if it'll
thank
be
you for putting me on, even though I forgot about it. I was like, yo, have you heard of this guy?
Oh, when did I first hear about it? I first heard about him, I think 2 years ago. My friend sent me a link to his song, which is funny because he likes hip hop, but he's not like one of these dudes out here finding like hidden gems and shit.
Yeah.
I think his Spotify just happened to play, and he's like, here, check it out. And the song was with Sci-Hi, the Prince.
Oh, nice.
It was cool, but it wasn't anything that made me say, oh my God, like this guy's the next big thing. And then, yeah, I casually followed him for the next 2 years, and then he released What's Poppin', and ever since then I'm like done. Like he's going somewhere.
Yeah, I can't remember the last rapper I discovered. Like I was like, yo, I guess Big Sean. I remember I was on to Big Sean before mostly all my friends, only because I was heavy into Mike Posner mixtape era, and they're both from Detroit. Like so, Mike Posner had him on a lot of shit like before he dropped anything. So I think I guess Big Sean was the first rapper like I discovered before like most of my friends and shit. All right, man, that's pretty much all I got. Anything else you want to touch upon before we dip?
Nope, nothing really.
All right, my brother. Well, stay safe out there. Hopefully the Rona don't fucking get either of us, man. Because, dude, this shit is
safe.
Wildin', bro.
Yeah, I've heard some crazy ass symptoms. Like some people are saying, or doctors or whatever, are saying people who are healthy and young could have permanent lung damage and all kinds of other shit. So now I'm definitely not trying to catch it.
I don't know. Again, this is the thing, bro. You can't trust anything online, but they showed someone. First of all, I didn't know you can get a fucking lung transplant, but they showed someone's lung pre-COVID and post-COVID. I was like, oh my God, bro. Like, you may survive, but nigga, you ain't got long left. Shit, like...
I know. I saw one of those pictures too. I'm like, damn, this motherfucker's been chain smoking since he was 2 years old.
I was like, what? Like, bro, like, yo, fucking just take me, bro. Like,
I know. I've seen quotes like, yo, you might survive this shit, but your spine is going to end up not functioning and shit. I'm like, yeah, I'd just rather die. I'm not trying to live through this shit if that's the case.
Oh man, so yeah, man, just stay safe out there. Again, that picture could have been absolute fucking bullshit. Like, that had, like, no source. It was just like, yeah, here's the picture. Oh, man. All right, man. Love you, man. Be safe. Get some food. Talk to you later.